Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to be checking out the newly released DNA design upgrade set for the Transformers Studio series, The Wreckers. Now for those of you looking to add this set to your collection, it is currently available and in stock right now over at ShowZ, and for that of course I shall pack a link down in the description box below, and also be sure to stay tuned for further updates in regards to ShowZ's annual 11/11 sale. Now starting off here with the review by taking a look at the entire accessory assortment that we actually get in this pack, you can see that we have a shed ton to actually get through. In my opinion this pack is way more bang for your buck when in comparison to the recently reviewed DNA design Shockwave upgrade kit, as we actually get so many weapons which really these wreckers were in a desperate need of, especially in the case of Roadbuster. So let's get straight down to it. So here for Roadbuster we do in fact get some forearm fillers, so you can see this has been cast out of a very nice looking gunmetal grey, and we've got some nice what appear to be almost spring detailings going on. In order to actually show you how these actually apply onto the figure, you can see how we've got that massive gaping hole that you essentially just take this here and peg that there over the top. Now I personally wouldn't recommend pushing it all the way in, as of course you still want to actually be able to remove this when transforming that figure, but that is a marked improvement. You can see just when comparing it here to the other hand, which had this massive hole going on for it, it definitely didn't look the best. Although I will be honest and say I wish they maybe could have found a way to in fact have actually kept this attached during transformation, as you will in fact actually have to remove this when flipping the wrists into the forearms. Of course come to this one and just port that there like so. We also do get included two weapons, so you can see these are indeed Gatling guns. They've been cast very similarly out of that same gunmetal, and they've got some nice silver detailing attached to the sides. Now with these it's really up to your own personal preference. You can in fact actually peg them here on to the side of the arms. So if I just demonstrate that, it simply does just attach here just like so onto the side, and that actually looks really cool. Of course you can do the same for the opposite side, or what I personally like to do is actually take this one for instance and peg it into the slot which is created via the ball joint. So just align that up appropriately and shoot that in there. And if my memory serves me correctly, the Wreckers did in fact, most specifically Roadbuster, have Gatling guns actually on the thighs, so that's really cool. And then we can take this one here and actually attach it onto this arm. So just align that up like so, port that into place, and you can see how we've got an additional Gatling gun on this side. And of course we do in fact get included the chainsaw, which I don't believe we actually saw in the movie, although the Human Alliance version, and I do believe there are also some concept art images of him having this. I'm really glad they included this. You can see this once again has been cast out of that gunmetal, and we've got some really nice silver paint apps applied for the actual saw itself. Now this can be attached onto either of the arms, so just port that there into place, although I will be honest and say that it doesn't fit 100% seamless actually along the side, but still that looks really awesome, and once again gives this guy some much needed firepower that he just didn't have on the original release. Now as we take a look here at Leadfoot, this guy is actually a little more interesting and actually comes with quite a considerable amount more. So we do in fact get this backpack piece which has got 3 additional weapons. So we've got this one in the center as well as this one here on the side. Now you can completely remove them and attach them onto any of the ports that are in fact actually available. For the purposes of this review I will be keeping this here in one piece, but you can see how we've got 2 ports and a tab here on the back, which when actually turning the figure around you can see will align up really nicely here with this back section. So just snap that there into place. Of course you can take some of these guns off and attach it onto the shoulder port, or maybe here into the actual ports created via the hands, but that's really nice. And then we can actually turn our attention here to some of the gap fillers. So we do get some upper thigh pieces. So as you can see here we've got this really ugly ghastly gap that you will in fact just take this piece here, and I believe it goes this way, so just shoot that in there just like so. And you can see how that will in fact conceal that hollow cavity. Just to give you a comparison between the field side and of course the stock figure side, you can see that is definitely a lot better, and if anything actually breaks up the red and of course adds an additional layer of detail. Of course come to this side and repeat the exact same process. So just align that up appropriately, shoot that there into place, and it will in fact actually snap in really securely. We can then take these panels and of course they will cover up these hollow gaps. So just align that up, snap that into place, and you can see that this section has in fact been painted red, although it doesn't quite match with the very vibrant colour of red that we've got going on for the plastic. But once again, it's definitely not too detracting, and overall I think it does the job. And then we can just come to this one and of course repeat the same process. So snap that there into place, and there you've essentially got all of the upgrades applied here to Leadfoot. So you can see there the thighs are completely filled out, as so are the lower sections of the legs. We now of course have got this backpack section which will play more of a role when we get him transformed up into vehicle mode, but you can take some of these additional pieces and I guess you can in fact actually attach it here into the port at the top. I can't actually find any other ports on this guy to utilize the other two weapons, and the wrists we will in fact actually use for another accessory in just a second. So these are a little redundant, but once again will play more of a vital role when we get him transformed up into vehicle mode. Now as we bring in Leadfoot's accessory, that being steel jaw. I thought this was a really nice inclusion, but DNA Design have in fact actually included this leash. So you can see we've got a nice gunmetal there for the actual harness, and this die-cast chain, which of course, considering it's die-cast, is fully articulated. And in order to actually apply this, you are in fact going to want to line up these circular ports with the figure. So just hook that into place, and you can see another circular indent that this too will also snap into place incredibly securely. And you can see there you've got steel jaw on the leash, and we can just peg that into the 5mm port that Leadfoot's got going on for the hand. So that too is also a really nice inclusion. And then we turn here to Topspin, which quite honestly has probably some of the most key upgrades that this set includes. So we'll start off firstly by removing the weapons. For those of you who own this guy, you know the weapons on him were pretty pants. They were made out of this very pliable PVC. They weren't painted at all, and honestly looked a little poor when in comparison to the rest of the figure. So we are essentially just going to want to disregard those, set them off to the side. And the same also would apply here for these very pliable pieces of plastic that we've got going on for the claws. So just set them there off to the side. We can then bring in the new weapons, which have been cast completely out of solid plastic. You can see detailed really nicely on this particular piece. And then you can of course just attach these here into those same 5mm ports, and of course come to this side and repeat the exact same process. We can now bring in these plastic claws, which look so much better, as well as of course in fact actually hold their shape this time round, and these peg into the same ports, and you can see they're fully articulated so you can open and close them. And they've actually got some pretty decent detailing going on as well, and I actually think the color match is a lot better when in comparison to the very light shade of grey that we got with the stock release. And then just come to this side and repeat the same process. So snap them there. If you really wanted to, you can in fact actually take some of these Gatling guns and peg them into the ports on the side. So that is definitely a look you can do, which is really awesome. Harkens back to that original Dark of the Moon Deluxe toy. And then as we just spin our attention here to the back, unfortunately, as these are fixed into place, DNA Design were unable to in fact actually give us an upgrade piece for this. But honestly, it's not too bad. If you just coat these in maybe a darker gunmetal, they actually won't look that terrible. And if you're afraid that they won't hold their position, this is where this piece comes in. So for this, you are essentially going to want to slide this under. You can see how we've got two slots that will in fact peg into those tabs, and then now these actual guns will indeed snap into place on these harnesses, actually keeping this entire section into place. So it acts almost like a support structure for these, which once again is really awesome. And then we turn it to actual upgrade elements. So whereas before we were dealing with accessories, these pieces are in fact a lot better when in comparison to the stock feet. Now I will be honest and say that when you do this for the first time, it's super scary, as we essentially have to pull this foot off. So what I like to do is come here to the wheel, just rotate that for transformation, take the actual heel spur of the main figure, disengage it here from this vehicle mode component, and then try your best to essentially just pry this off the clip system, and then we can align the appropriate foot up and just snap that there into place. Of course, take this section, you can see how we've got that cut out. This will in fact peg into the slot that we've got going on here for the back. So bring this section down, snap that there into place. You can see how we've got a heel spur there, and that just looks so much better. Not only does it add a little more height to this guy when in comparison to the other foot, but the detail as well as the paint, I personally believe, better matches the appearance from the movie. Of course, you're going to want to come to this side and repeat the same process. So once again, that very scary procedure of in fact actually removing the previous foot. So just detach this here, and it does actually take quite a bit of force to knock this out of place. So pull that clean off, and then bring this one in, slide this here over the top until that clips into place. We can then of course snap that there, hinge the heel spur out to the side, and there you have got Topspin with all of the upgrades actually applied onto him. Of course, rotate these wheel sections around and just ensure that this here does stay tabbed into place. You can see there, that is a vast improvement. So the detail on these is a lot better, as so is the paint. We've also got some nice suspension detailing going on here for the heel spur, and it just looks so much cooler. If we actually compare him to some of the other wreckers, you can see now that he does in fact actually stand a lot taller when in comparison to his previous version. So overall, I actually think this kit is 100% a winner here, at least for their robot modes. I think each of these guys have turned out really nicely. If anything, I would have in fact actually liked more weapons for these, but maybe that just would have been a little greedy, as of course now they do in fact actually include quite a substantial amount, especially in the case here of Roadbuster, whereas beforehand we just had that machine gun. We've now got these two guns which can either attach onto the forearms or onto the thighs, and we of course have now got that chainsaw. So without further ado, let's transform these up into their vehicle modes and see how they actually fare when in comparison to the stock figure, and of course now with these upgrade pieces. Now in regards to changes made by the upgrade kit here for transformation, for Roadbuster honestly it's pretty much next to none. All you have to bear in mind is that for conversion, in order to actually store the chainsaw, you can see how we've got this hollow space, which is of course standard for this guy. You simply just want to take this slot, peg that in there and you can see how it will fit seamlessly actually along the side, and when you connect these two halves, honestly, it doesn't obstruct it at all, so that is really, really awesome. You'll also want to turn your attention here to the top and in fact actually disengage these filler pieces from the forearms. It would have been awesome if they could have once again found the way to have actually incorporated this for transformation, but nevertheless, just detach those, of course, fold those wrists in, and once you've done the basic transformation for this guy in regards to some of the weapon storage, you'll take these filler pieces and essentially just attach them here to the underside of Roadbuster's toes. So snap that there into place. Of course, come here to this side and repeat the same process. So just snap that one there also into place. And for these pieces, you are just going to want to turn your attention to the side. You can see how we've now got this other peg that will indeed tab into that slot there. So just snap that in there. Spin your attention here to this side and of course snap that in there, and that is how all of Roadbuster's upgrade pieces do in fact actually store here for the vehicle mode. So really, really nicely in my opinion. You can see there, very nice looking sculpt work going on for the weapons, and the same can also be said here for this side, and I do in fact actually think these pieces do store pretty decently overall, and this guy can also roll along the ground as well, so those filler pieces don't actually obstruct the movement of the wheels at all. Now for Leadfoot, literally nothing changes in regards to transformation. He converts in the exact same way despite now having all of those new filler pieces attached to the inside of the legs. Although something that I will in fact actually mention is that I do wish DNA Design could have come out with brand new weapons here for these sections. Of course, these are incredibly loose and floppy and they just do not fit this figure at all, and that was in fact a universal issue which plagued pretty much every release of this guy. So once again, it would have been nice to have gotten some new machine guns to attach onto the sides, but if you actually take the one that came with the figure and that you would in fact actually store on the shoulder for robot mode, you do simply just now peg it here into the back, and there you've got Leadfoot with all of those weapons going on, once again looking really, really awesome. And that backpack section that we applied previously really does play a role here, as I think that looks a lot more movie accurate when in comparison to the stock release. Now for Topspin, much like all of these figures, honestly the changes to the transformation really isn't drastic at all, although before we actually touch base with how to convert the new feet, something which I am quite surprised to see is that they didn't include any form of filler piece here for the actual inside of Topspin's arm. That is quite unusual, especially considering that for Roadbuster it was a very similar design, so why they decided to skimp this, honestly I have no idea. But for turning to the transformation, you just want to take the wheel here, much like you would for the original conversion. Just take the foot, fold this here to the back, take the heel spur, also fold that to the back, but then at the same time you are going to want to bring this spiked section forwards and then just collapse that in like so, flip this to the front, and you can see how that will now in fact actually create a spike which will protrude from the underside of the front of the vehicle when transformed. And finally, wrapping up here with Topspin in vehicle mode, you can see that much like all of the Wreckers, the changes really are quite minor here in alt form. The only real difference that you can notice are now the gunmetal machine guns that we've got going on for the side, and I think these look really, really awesome. You can see some nice ammo actually attached here onto the side of the window, which is cool, and the overall colorization actually blends in with the darker gunmetal paint that we've got going on for the side of the vehicle. You can see how we've now got these spikes sticking from the underside, which is a little more movie accurate to how he appeared in the film, and I actually really like this brace section, as now of course it does in fact actually hold these rubberized guns into place. It would have been interesting to have seen DNA Design perhaps actually attempt to give us swappable pieces for this, but I imagine it maybe would have caused to have been a little difficult to actually remove that, as I cannot actually find any easy way to actually extract this piece. And then as we just flip here to the side, you can see how the claws, much like the original version, do in fact fill out this space going on, and now that it is indeed a very similar color to the paint, it actually blends in really, really nicely. So overall, Topspin definitely looks very, very awesome here in vehicle mode, despite the changes not being as noticeable as the ones were in robot mode. So some final thoughts here for this DNA Design upgrade set, of course, for the Transformers Dark of the Moon Studio Series Wreckers. Overall, for the most part, I actually think it's a really welcome addition by DNA Design. It fixes so many issues that I actually had with the stock versions of these guys. Most noticeably would be that we now get so many more weapons, something which was drastically missing on Roadbuster at least, and I do in fact actually like some of the additional firepower that we get with Leadfoot, and those guns that we now get for Topspin are so much better than the very pliable plasticky ones that we got standard. I also think the feet design for Topspin is once again so much better. Not only does it boost his height, but the actual detail and the colorization works really, really well. I also like the opening claws that we've got going on. Once again, much like the guns, they've been cast out of solid plastic this time around and are just a better color in general. We've also got some really awesome filler pieces for Leadfoot to just fill out some of those hollow spaces, which really were glaring when having this guy in display in bot mode. And I do also like the die-cast chain that we get to actually attach to Steeljaw, which of course was the Studio Series Leadfoot's accessory. As we take a look at Roadbuster, once again we get some nice filler pieces that I maybe would have liked to have seen actually integrated into the figure so they could have stayed fixed during transformation, but that really is just a minor critique for what is otherwise a really nice welcome addition. And I do also once again like some of those machine guns that you can attach onto the side of the arms, or of course the thighs, and the chainsaw is really, really awesome. I'm super glad to actually get that with this release. So with all that being said, if you love your Dark of the Moon Wreckers and you just want to visually boost them, then I would definitely recommend this set, and it is currently available over at Showsea, so if you are after picking it up, definitely check out the link down in the description box below. I would love to know down in the comments on what you guys think of this upgrade set. Do you think it's one of the better ones that DNA Design have currently put out there? Also be sure to let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.